obedient towards our country's law. Every country has a set of law, and to understand that law and to abide by that law, to obey that law, that is what is very much needed in our life. So we say he's a good civic sense, or he's a good civic, uh, you know, he does not have a good civic sense. That comes from that word civics. Now, whenever civics or political science, in the broader prospect perspective, we say political science or pol science. Whenever we are doing this pol science or civics, the first thing that comes to our mind is the constitution of a country. Every country has a set of constitutions, has a written constitution or a oral constitution. Not all country has a written constitution. Some countries have oral constitution. Like England has a oral constitution, a constitution which is not written, but it is all uh, it has been since ages. It has been told, and people understand the laws. Now, written constitution is there in America. Now, Indian constitution happens to be the largest constitution in the world. It is the bulkiest, largest, and most elaborate constitution in the world is the Indian constitution. It was drafted by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Baba Sahib Ambedkar, who was the chief architect behind this Indian constitution. This was adapted in the year 1950 on 26th of January. That is why 26th of January is celebrated as the Republic Day. Okay, so Indian Constitution is a very solemn constitution, a constitution which has provided a perfect democracy. Because in the world, the largest democracy in the world is, of course, India, and the oldest democracy in the world is USA. The perfect model of democracy is found in India. The type of freedom, the type of liberty, the type of status of equality that is given in India, nowhere else in world this has been given. This much of liberty or this much of freedom. So the entire constitution stands on the principles of fraternity, equality, and social justice, which is very important. So the Indian constitution, let us read it. In this chapter, we are going to begin with football, a game many of you have probably heard of. Heard of what? Everybody plays football. I think all of you must be playing football in school, and
Yes.
you
Yes,
must be
sir.
you must be missing football. I used to play a lot of
Yes.
football and cricket during my school and college days. I enjoy. As the name suggests, this is a game that involves the player's feet. So this is a game where you have to pass the ball and you have to do the dribbling and you have to shoot the ball through your feet. You cannot hit it with the hand. Once it touches the hand, only the goalkeeper is allowed to touch it by hand, and while you throw the ball, then only you can use the hand. Otherwise, it becomes a handball. Okay. As the name suggests, this is a game that involves feet. According to the rules of football, if the ball touches the arm of any player except the goalkeeper, then this is considered a foul. It is considered a foul. Foul means it is a wrong game. It's a wrong game. And then definitely it is a handball. It's a handball. It goes for a penalty. So if players start holding the football in their hands and passing it around, then they are not playing football anymore. So it becomes basketball. Similarly, other games such as hockey or cricket also have rules according to which they are played. So every game has a separate set of rules. Even while you are playing your indoor game like carom or ludo or chess or cards, there are a set of rules which are being followed. For each game, there is a set of rules. Each of these rules helps define the game and helps us distinguish one game from the other. So, how cricket is being played in the same way, hockey is not played in the same way, and similarly, football and volleyball is not played, or basketball is not played in the same way. Everything differs, game to game. Tennis, table tennis played in a different way. Lawn tennis is played in a different way. So, there are different, badminton play is being played in a different way. Every game has a different set of rules. As these are fundamental to the game, we can also call them a constitutive rule of the game. So, the rules which are followed, the set of laws which have been followed in these games, are known as the constitutive uh, set of laws or the constitutive rules of the game. Like these games, a society also has a constitutive rules that make it what it is in and differentiate it from other kinds of societies. So it differentiates from other kinds of societies. In large societies in which different communities of people live together, these rules are formulated through consensus. And so, in every society, whenever you are living in a civilized society, whenever you are living in a civilized country, in a civilized state, so there are also certain set of rules which are being, you know, there's a common consensus which is taken, and based on those common consensus, those common principles, a set of a set of rules are being uh, generated and they are being followed. And in modern countries, this consensus is usually available in written form. A written document in which we find such rules is called a constitution. So in the modern times, we have a written document. And in that written document, you have all the laws being laid down in pen and paper. And what are these laws? These laws are based on common welfare of the society, the welfare of the country, the growth, the equality, the freedom of the people, how well the people are to be. Mridul, you can switch off your camera. How well we can uh, adjust ourselves to the society in a most civil manner, how to live a life like a civilized person. We are not living in jungle or forest where might is the right. We are living in a civilized society where you have to follow certain set of rules, certain set of laws. Our country, our society is run by those laws. Now tomorrow I see that somebody is coming by a Zazi car, beautiful car. I just show a revolver and take his car and I start, you just get out from here, it's my car now. I cannot do that because there is a constitution. Police will catch me and will put me behind the bars. So there has to be a set of laws, there has to be a set of rules which has to be done. And that is a civilized society. So constitution is a set of fundamental rules. Try to understand, it is a set of fundamental rules which is a roadmap for a country to progress ahead. The country is administered under those rules. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have looked at the
Yes, sir.
constitution. We have looked in the constitution at the Indian constitution in class 6 and 7 in our social and political life textbooks. We have read about our constitution. Have you ever wondered why we need a constitution or been curious about how the constitution got written or who wrote it? Now we hear about the constitution. Every now and then people say the constitution is in danger, the constitution laws are not being followed. Please follow the constitution. This is against the constitution. But where did this constitution come from? What is its origin? How did this constitution, how was this constitution framed? How it was put into implementation? So all these things must be coming into our mind. In this chapter, we will discuss both these issues and also look at the key features of the constitution. Each of these features is crucial to the working of democracy in India, and some of these will be the focus of different chapters in this book. So constitution is the foundation on which the democracy is standing. Any country, any country, the constitution is always the foundation of a country. Whether it is India, Australia, England or Japan, constitution is always the foundation of a country. That is that is the solid base on which the entire country stands. So the constitution, how the India has become a successful democracy, and what are the different characteristics, what are the salient features of a constitution, that will be studied. Why does a country need a constitution? Very important question. Why do we need a constitution after all? In 1934, the Indian National Congress made the demand for a constituent assembly. During the Second World War, this assertion for an independent constituent assembly formed only of Indians gained momentum, and this was convened in December 1946. So, when India was under the British era, under the British rule, I'm talking about 1934, a few years back, the World War One has ended, and some 10 years back, and then the World War Two is just knocking at the door. Hitler is ruling the western part of Europe, and there is a huge turmoil in the entire world. Everything is brewing up. The League of Nations has already failed, and after this the World War starts. And this, there was assertion, there was a demand, growing demand among the people of India, among the freedom fighters of India, that India should have a constituent assembly, an assembly which will make a constitution for its own people. And the constitution of India should be written by the people of India. It doesn't need any foreign intervention. So, Indian constitution has to be written by the Indian people. That was the first demand, that is a constituent assembly consisting of Indians. And this was convened, this was formed in December 1946. The page on photo 2, the photo on page 2 shows members of the Constituent Assembly. These are the members of the Constituent Assembly. The photo is not so properly visible, but we can see some of the members. I think this is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. So between 1946 and November 1949, the Constituent Assembly drafted a constitution for independent India. So they drafted a constitution. Within these 3 years, they worked very hard. All the members of the Constituent Assembly, under the leadership of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Baba Sahib Ambedkar, they really worked very hard to frame a constitution of India, and that to the bulkiest constitution in the world. We had the best brains of India, political science, the constitution specialists, who took all the best parts from all the different constitutions. So they studied all the constitutions of different countries, different democracies across the world, and they borrowed the best things from each country and put it into this constitution. So just imagine, it is the combination of all the best. It is the combination of all the best qualities of different constitutions that were present in different countries. Free to shape their destiny, at last, after 150 years of British rule, the members of the Constituent Assembly approached this task with great idealism and freedom struggle and helped produce. So, it was a struggle for freedom. It was an aspiration of the general mass of India, where for more than 150 years they were under the British rule, and they were highly deprived class. They were not able. They were not a liberated soul. So these to liberate the soul of India, according to Ravindranath Tagore, how he described it in a poem called "Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high." So, where the mind is without fear. So, I want a country, my country, where everybody should, have a fearless mind and can walk straight with the head set high. They should not be afraid of their owner. The British were our owner, were our ruler during that time. So we want to breathe in a free country, in a liberated country. So the constitution has been written on those lines of freedom. The photo alongside shows Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, this is Jawaharlal Nehru addressing the Constituent Assembly. So he is addressing the Constituent Assembly. Just hold on. Today, most countries in the world have a constitution. You talk about any country, whether it's an
पुन्हा
African
4-5
country.
दिवसाआधी हेच बोललेली मला.
Brazil, you said something.
No sir.
कुछ बोलेले मला. You said something that you want to be said something. Are you telling me something? Please don't talk.
No sir. No sir.
Please don't talk also when I am teaching. Please concentrate on what I am teaching because that is very important. Today, most countries in the world have a constitution. You talk about any country, whether it is Britain or Japan or India or Australia or any African country or any South American or American country, it is all. America consists of USA, Canada, these are different countries. Everybody of them, Mexico, everybody is having a separate constitution. Everybody is having a constitution. While all democratic countries are likely to have a constitution, it is not necessary that all countries have a constitution that have a constitution are democratic. True. There are many all countries have a constitution, but it is not necessary any country that is having a constitution is a democratic country. So constitutions are there in most of the countries, but not all countries are democratic. We have many undemocratic countries like China. We have countries like North Korea. They have a constitution, but that they are not. They are communist countries, and they are not having democracy. The Constitution serves the several purposes. There are several purposes of Constitution. First, it lays out certain ideals that form the basis First, it lays out the ideals that form the basis of the country that we citizens aspire to live in. So the Constitution, first of all, provides the scope that a country, the citizens, their aspirations, their willingness, their how to fulfill their wishes. What does a citizen want? He wants freedom. He wants liberty, that is freedom, and to live with security. That is first of all provided by the Constitution. And what is democracy, by the way? Democracy, as Abraham Lincoln, the President of America, had said, it is by the people, of the people, and for the people. Now, what is by the people, of the people, for the people? It is Lokshahi. What you say, Lokshahi, Prajatantra, Ganatantra. It is a government which is run by the people. The people elects their leaders and they send them and they rule the country. So the elected people, representatives of the people, they run the government. It is not any king, or it is not any ruler, or it is not any, uh, dictator who runs the country. So this country, a democratic country, is a country which is run by the people. The people run the country. It is the will of the people. The people, they vote. We have a voting system. So what happens in that voting system? We vote both at the state level and at the parliamentary elections. We go and vote. Anybody who is above the age of 18 goes to vote. They cast their vote and they elect. Like last time they voted Mr. Narendra Modi and he became the prime minister. So every time there is a voting and they send their own representatives from their area. Not all the 135 crore people will go and sit in the parliament. What they can do, there are 500 odd seats are there. So those seats, each seat is having a constituency, and from there one representative will go and will represent the people of that particular area constituency and will raise the voice. So that is democracy, something that is Lokshahi. It is run by the people. The real powers rests in the hand of the people. असली ताकत जो है ये पब्लिक के साथ होती है, आम जनता के पास होती है. ये डेमोक्रेसी है जिसको हम लोग लोकशाही कहते हैं. लेकिन कम्युनिस्ट कंट्री, डिक्टेटर कंट्रीज, उनमें क्या है? दे हैव देयर ओन लीडर्स जिसके पास सारे पावर है, तो वो किसी जनता के परवाह नहीं करता, आम आदमी का परवाह नहीं करता. ही इज नॉट इंटरेस्टेड.
Like North Korea.
Like North Korea, like China, like Saudi Arabia. There are many countries. Even Iran is not a democratic country. So remember, democracy means the country which is run by the people. So first it lays out certain ideals that form the basis of the kind or the country in which that we citizens aspire to live in. एक ऐसे माहौल बनाता है, the type of country it builds where the aspirations of the people are fulfilled. Aspirations means the wishes of the people are fulfilled. Where the people can live freely. Or put another way, our constitution tells us what are the fundamental nature of our society is. What is the fundamental nature of our society? What type of society we are living in? That is told in the constitution. A country is usually made up of different communities of people who share certain beliefs but may not necessarily agree on all issues. There are different sections of people, there are different types of people, there are different races of people, different religion, different language. In a country like India, every 20 kilometers the language and the culture changes, they say. It is true. Even in a state like Maharashtra, if a person is coming from Gadchiroli, the type of Marathi he will speak and the type of Marathi spoken by a person from Raigad or Sindhudurg will be totally different. He will be speaking a Konkani based thing, and he will be speaking something which is having a Madhya Pradeshi dialect. So in one state, that is present in all the states of India. If from district to district the culture changes, the language dialect changes, the style changes. We have so many religions. We have the Hindus, the Muslims, the Sikhs. the Christians, the Parsis, the Buddhists, the Jains, the Jews. So many religions we are having at one go. We are having so many languages, so many regions, so many castes, so many other things are there. So it is a variety, it is a kaleidoscope, you can say. Kaleidoscope is, is a, in physics you might have read, it is a sort of instrument where you'll be able to see different colors, colorful designs. Hundreds of colorful designs you'll be able to see. So this society, whatever, the society has different type of people. In every country, the society, there's the rich, the poor, the low, the high, the literate, the illiterate. And this includes not only one type of government, but also an agreement on certain ideals that they all believe that the country should uphold. So there is a common consensus. Amongst all differences, there is a common consensus, minimum common consensus is there. A sort of agreement among all the disagreements on certain vital points. The security of the nation, the integrity of the nation, the nationalistic feeling. So all these things, it counts, the economy, the social and the political issues. All these things are very important, which is actually the main ingredients and the main elements of a constitution. Let us try and understand what we mean by this through two contrasting examples in the recent story of, okay, let us first read the story of Nepal. The country of Nepal has witnessed several people struggle for democracy. Nepal was a country, let me tell you a story. Nepal was a country which was ruled by the kings. So the king was there, a very good king. His name was, it was the only Hindu kingdom in the world, Hindu country in the world. So the king of that country, Nepal, was Tribhuvan Narayan Singh. Now Tribhuvan Narayan Singh, he died. He did lots of progress for India, for Nepal, and he believed in the common friendship between India and Nepal. And that is why lots of treaties had happened during his time. His son was Birinder Singh. Now, what happened in 1999, or no, I'm not 19, 2001. In 2001, all of a sudden, the entire king's family was killed. Something happened, and the entire royal family was killed, wiped out. They were assassinated. After they were killed, the communist regime started in that place, in Nepal. The country of Nepal has witnessed several struggles for democracy. There was a people's struggle in 1990 that established democracy that lasted for 12 years until 2002. So in 2002, King Gyanendra, citing the Maoist uprising in the countryside as his reason, began taking over different aspects of the government with army's assistance. The king then finally took over as the head of the government in February 2005. So, from 1990, there was an uprising. People wanted that there should be no royal family. People should rule this country. So from 1990, there was an uprising. And this uprising had a communist Maoist is actually a communist uh, theory which has come from a Chinese
काकी
leader.
काकी करत आहे मी तुला तेच सांगतोय आलिका काकी काकी करत आहे काकी
Mridul, Mridul, Mridul. So there was a people's struggle in 1990 and established democracy that lasted for 12 years. Till 2002, and then they told in 2001 King Birendra was killed. So his brother was King Gyanendra, who was saved, who was not there, in fact. And citing Maoist uprising, that means Maoist is a thing that is getting help from China. You know that China has lots of interest in Nepal nowadays, and they're investing a lot in Nepal. They want Nepal to become good friends of China rather than of India, because India and Nepal are very good friends. They don't want to that India should be a good friend of them. Now Nepal should be a better friend of China. So this Maoist uprising was taking place in the countryside, in the village side. You have the Maoist also here in India, in Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, and other places, Odisha, West Bengal, which is called as the Naxalite movement. So Mao Zedong was the person he was the president of China, who had told that you can rule a country by with the help of a gun. That is what they believe. That you don't listen to me, I'll shoot you, I'll kill you. And in the process, he killed millions of people, Chinese people. So China has lost its democracy long time back. And that Maoist philosophy is coming to different other pockets of Southeast Asian countries. India is too big a country to be led by Maoists, but Nepal is a very small country. So in the countryside, in the village side, the Maoists took the help of the farmers and they began taking over different aspects of the government with army's assistance. The king then finally took over as the head of the government in February 2005, became the head of the government. In November 2005, the Maoists joined other political parties to sign a 12-point agreement. There was a 12-point agreement which they signed. And the 12-point agreement is this agreement signaled to the larger public an imminent return to democracy and peace. They said when Gyanendra he became the king, he said, no, we will rule like a king. There won't be any democracy. King is the head of the state. Gyanendra was the brother of Birendra and he was a different person. He was not like Birendra, who was killed. Birendra was killed. Birendra and his family. But Gyanendra and his son Paras, they were not killed. So they started, ruling over the people. Now the people said, no, we don't want. Then the Maoist government over there, because there's a large section of the Maoist, the communist people. They said, no, let us enter into a sort of agreement. And there were other political parties like Koirala's party and all. They joined hands together. That is the Nepali Congress and all. They joined hands together. And they said, no, what we'll do is there should be a 12-point program and we want to move. We want our democracy back. This agreement signaled to the larger public an imminent return of democracy and peace. In 2006, this People's Movement for Democracy began gaining immense force. It repeatedly refused the small concessions that the king made for, and finally in April 2006, the king restored the third parliament and asked the political parties to form a government. So, the king was under pressure and he had to issue a third parliament, a third session of the parliament, where he said, let the political parties form a government. In 2007, Nepal adopted an interim constitution, and constitution which is a temporary constitution. Interim. That means temporary constitution. The above photo shows scenes from the People's Movement of Democracy in 2006. So they wanted a constitution which is, they had a constitution which was an interim sort of constitution, a temporary sort of constitution. Let us try and understand. Are you all able to understand what I am telling? What I am explaining?
Yes, sir.
All of you?
Yes, sir.
Mridul, are you able to understand? Mridul,
What?
you are not paying attention, my dear बच्चा. आप attention बिल्कुल पे नहीं कर रहे हो. अब हल्ला मचा रहे हो घर में. Attention, pay attention, pay attention. Be serious. Let us try and understand what we mean by this, though through two contrasting situations in the recent history of Nepal, a country that borders India on the north. Just it is a border north of India. With the Himalayan states. It has borders with North Bengal. That is Darjeeling. It has borders with Sikkim, with Assam, Meghalaya, and it has also borders with Uttarakhand and Bihar. So with all these states, it has a common border. So a large portion of Nepal is in fact sharing borders with India, very big border. And in the top, they have China. Until recently, Nepal was a monarchy. As I told you, it was a monarchy. Monarchy means rule of king. King was the head. King was the head of the state. It was not a democratic country. It was a monarchy. The previous constitution of Nepal, which had been adopted in 1990, reflected the fact that the final authority rested with the king. It said that the final power will be with the king. That constitution said. A people's movement in Nepal fought for several decades to establish democracy, and in 2006, they finally, after 16 years, they finally succeeded in putting an end to the powers of the king. In 2006 and 2001, King Birendra was killed. In 2002, Gyanendra became the king. Till 2005, Gyanendra was there. He was trying to control, but the people did not agree. The Maoist forces and other forces of the Nepali, the different groups, they did not want king's rule. They wanted to be a democratic country like India. So ultimately, the powers of the kings ended in 2006. Now the people have to write a new constitution to establish Nepal as a democracy. A few years back, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he visited Nepal, Kathmandu, and he showed concern. He said that Nepal should write a constitution as soon as possible. They should adopt a constitution. So the reason that they do not want to continue with the previous constitution is because it does not reflect the ideas of the country that they want Nepal to be, and they have fought for. So there is a constitution in Nepal, but that is an interim constitution, and they don't want that constitution. वो संविधान, वो constitution उनको चाहिए नहीं. क्यों नहीं चाहिए? Because that is not the constitution that they want. They have not fought for, they have not done all this movement and all this. So many people died in the movement. So many people were put behind the bars during this movement. So the sacrifices the Nepali people did, it was not for this little discount. So they want a proper constitution which will fulfill their desires and aspirations. As in the game of football, in which a change in the constitutive rule will change the game altogether. Nepal, by moving from a monarchy to a democratic government, needs to change all its constitutive rules in order to usher in a new society. If you are having a monarchy, suppose you are ruled by a king, so the type of constitution written that will be entirely different, will be diametrically opposite to a constitution in which it is a democratic, that is run by the people. Here, king is the head of the state, or the main power is with the king. Here, the main power is with the people. यहाँ राजा के पास ताकत है, यहाँ प्रजा के पास ताकत है. ये लोकशाही है, ये राजशाही है. तो दोनों में जमीन आसमान की फर्क है. There is a hell and heaven difference between the two. So, to adapt from monarchical constitution to democratic constitution, it has to undergo through lots of processes and rules. And that is to establish, usher in means to establish a new society. This is why the people of Nepal are in the process of writing a new constitution for the country. It is on. The caption alongside elaborates Nepal's struggle for democracy. So, what is Nepal's struggle for democracy? Nepal, first of all, it was ruled by king. Then they started raising their voice. In between, their king was killed. He was assassinated. He and his entire family had died due to the shootout in the royal dinner party. A few of them escaped. One of them was Gyanendra, other was Paras. So Gyanendra became the king. He tried to rule of the people of Nepal for some time. And then the people of Nepal again said that they don't want, and the Maoist and the different other Nepali Congress and all those people, Kerala Congress and all, they joined hands and they entered into a treaty, 12-point agreement, in which they wanted democracy. But the constitution that they have is our old constitution. So in 2006, the king was gone, but the constitution is not gone. The constitution is still there. That is a temporary constitution just to run the country for the time being. A new constitution is being written. The process is on. Because constitution cannot be written overnight, but it takes several years to write a constitution. We had those days those talents like great personalities like Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, Baba Sahib Ambedkar, Justice Kripalani, who drafted those constitutions in those days because they were extraordinary people. Not every country have those. Nepal doesn't have those sort of people. They do not have one Baba Sahib Ambedkar who can draft the constitution in a jiffy. Laws were recited by him like poetries. But that is not everybody's cup of tea. He was an extraordinary person. So it takes time. The second important purpose of a constitution is to define the nature of the country's political system. What sort of political system you want? For example, Nepal's earlier constitution stated that the country has to be ruled by the king and his council of ministers. That means the king is just like the president, and he'll have the council of ministers who will help him in taking decisions and running the government. In countries that have adopted a democratic form of government or polity, the constitution plays a crucial role in laying out certain important guidelines that govern decision making within the societies. So the constitution of any country, you take any country or society, it has a very important role to play, and that is laying down the guidelines along which the country has to be governed. What should be the political line that the country should adopt? No, the political line of the country has to be decided by the people of that land. What the people want, that sort of political line should be there. Now, if people say that we want a communist regime, then definitely the communist party, and communist parties are very strong in Nepal. There is a person called Prachanda, and there is a person who is the present prime minister. I'm forgetting his name, the present prime minister. So these people, they are communist parties. They're communist leaders. Kohli is the. So Kohli and this Prachanda, they are communist leaders, but they are anti. They are rivals. So, and there is the Nepali Congress, which is run by the Koirala family, the grand uncle of Manisha Koirala, the film star. So they belong to the Koirala family, a very famous family of. Then you have the Bhatt family. So there are many families are there who are again ruling the roost in that country. In a democracy, if we choose our leaders so that they can exercise powers responsibly on our behalf, we have to choose our own representatives. And that representative goes to the Vidhan Sabha in the state assembly or in the central parliament, into the legislative and into the Lok Sabha. And they help us, they take the decision on our behalf. We chosen one leader and we send him to the assembly, and they take the decision on our behalf. However, there is always a possibility that these leaders might misuse their authority, and Constitution usually provides safeguards against this. So there are lots of chances that we send हम एक चुन के हम अपने एक नेता को भेजते हैं, लेकिन हो सकता है कि वो नेता हम जो चाहते हैं उस तरह से काम, तो उस तरीका से काम ना करे। हम जिस तरह से हम जो चीज के लिए उनको चुने थे वो सारी चीज फुलफिल नहीं हो पाए। That is very much possible. But उस चीज से बचाने के लिए, for that also the Constitution is safeguarding us. The misuse of authority can result in gross injustice as demonstrated in the classroom situation. अगर हम अपना पावर को मिसयूज करेंगे, हम अपने ऑथोरिटी को मिसयूज करेंगे, there will be total chaos, जैसे क्लासरूम में होता है. Suresh is the class monitor. He is a bully. He's a bully means सबको परेशान करता है. His classmates are not too fond of him. They don't like him. Mrs. Rao, the class teacher, has to leave the classroom on some urgent work. She asks Suresh to mind the class. Suresh starts speaking Anil. Now, the class teacher had to leave the class due to some work, and she tells Suresh, because he's the monitor, to mind the class. Now, instead of minding the class, he starts fighting with Anil, harassing Anil. Anil, today I am going to report to you to Mrs. Rao. But what have I done? मैंने क्या किया? When Mrs. Rao comes to class, ma'am, while you are away, Anil kept talking loudly and disturbing the class. He would not listen. Ma'am, आप जब बाहर थे, अनिल जोर जोर से बातें कर रहा था और इसका बात नहीं सुन रहा. So झूठ मूठ का एक कहानी बना के, sort of false story he makes up, and he prepares so that Anil is punished. Anil, you will have to stay back after school today and write, I will not disobey the class monitor 100 times. But ma'am, I didn't do anything. But ma'am, I have not done anything. He's an innocent child. In a democratic society, just ऐसे आप एक जन को choose करके भेजते हो, and instead of doing good of yours, he starts involves in corruption, doing this and that and other dirty things in politics. Then where is an aspiration? He told that he'll be building bridge for you, he'll be building railways for you, he'll be opening new schools, new hospitals, new stadiums, new universities, new medical colleges, new colleges and schools. What happened to that? They have all taken back. So, pura completely he has cheated you people. ऐसा होता है, democracy में ऐसा होता है. In democratic societies, the constitution often lays down rules that guard against the misuse of power by our political leaders. So the constitution has laid down certain principles जिससे कि कोई अपना political power को misuse ना कर पाए. कि जब एक representative बन जाते हैं आप, when you become a representative, something called MP, member of parliament, of MLA, member of legislative assembly, you get immense power with you. But you don't misuse those power. आप उस पावर को किसी खराब काम में नहीं लगाते हो, बर्बाद नहीं करते हो. इसके तरफ भी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ने नजर रखी हुई है and has made certain provisions. Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Okay. In the case of the Indian Constitution, about which you will read more later in the chapter, many of these laws are contained in the section on fundamental rights. There is a very important thing. The heart of the Constitution is the fundamental rights. The rights given to the citizen to live in a liberated way, to protest, to protect their rights, to protect their individuality. That is the fundamental rights. Do you recall the chapter on the Dalit writer Om Prakash Valmiki's experience in school from class 6 book? In that chapter, we talked about the discrimination Om Prakash faced because he was a Dalit. So there's a low caste boy, so he had to undergo lots of suffering. He had to undergo lots of suffering. Okay. Constitution guarantees the right to equality to all persons and says no citizen can be discriminated against on grounds of religion, race, caste, gender, and place of birth. You cannot discriminate them because everybody has a right to live. Everybody is equal in the eyes of the law. The right to equality is one of the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Indian Constitution. So in the Indian Constitution, right to equality is one of the fundamental rights. So I end my class here. It is already 4 o'clock. So tomorrow again we meet. We have geography. We'll be doing geography. Okay? Take care. Bye.
Okay, sir.
Bye, sir.
Bye, sir. Have a great day, sir.